I should have known you were a liar when I met you. I should have known you had a secret little double life. I should have known you were the devil flying undercover. I should have known you'd fit the part. I should have known you were a star. I should have known you were the devil flying undercover. I should have known you fit the part. I should have known you were a star. And I should have known you were a star. I should have known you were a star. I should have known you were a star. Thought you'd be the one to hold me down, pull the plug and let me drown. I never thought you'd be the one to push me down, grab my heart and throw it out. I should have known you were a liar when I met you. I should have known you had a secret little double life. I should have known you were the devil flying undercover. I should have known you fit the part. I should have known you were a star. And I should have known you were a star. I should have known you were a star. I should have known you were a star. Whoa, oh, whoa, 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 oh, whoa, 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 oh, whoa, whoa. I should have known you were a star.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
And welcome on in. It is that time of week again. We are back and live, and we are here for another Touchdown Tuesday. Thank you all for joining me. My name is Sean Urban, and I definitely hope that you will be here with us for about the next hour as we talk everything that is fantasy football and everything that is NFL football. Joining me here to the right-hand side of your screen, well, my right, it may be your left. I can't remember if it mirrors, but there is co-host Lindsay. So Lindsay is in the house. Hello, everybody. Hello, Gator and Mad Hatter and Triton. Welcome on in. It's nice to see everybody here. We are back after a week-long hiatus as we were down in warm, sunny Florida, soaking up the rays and getting burnt to a crisp because it was devil's backside hot down there. But we had a bunch of fun, so hopefully you guys, some of you guys popped in and, and you saw the streams we were doing. If not, they are up on my channel now. Go give them a like, go give them a watch. We thank you for the support. And without further ado, we try to keep this to just about an hour, give or take. We're going to try to do it every week. We should get it just about every week. And this is the third week. It's the off week, right, between preseason and when the regular season starts. So let's open things up. Your thoughts, Lindsay, on the preseason as a Patriots fan?
Well, I feel differently about it at this current moment than I did watching it, just based on who they chose to put on the roster.
Yeah.
You know, as everybody knows, today's cut down day. So,
Woohoo!
yeah, I'm a little nervous because of the cuts they made today. I thought that, obviously we haven't gotten to speak on camera in a while, but I was really impressed with Malik Cunningham, who was cut today.
Yeah, so him and Zappy both were cut.
Well, Zappy was not good. I think that finally, thank God, we quenched the quarterback competition rumors.
Right?
Right.
Now,
So
you know what I did notice, though, is he looked like he was playing a lot differently this preseason than he did last. And I half wonder if that is because Bill O'Brien is actually a coach for the quarterbacks and the offense, and he's actually coaching them the way that they should be instead of that hobo, as he's been called on this channel, who was just kind of letting them run roughshod and didn't really have a game plan.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a different set of schemes. I mean, honestly, most people that I spoke to, I guess, I don't know if maybe I was living in a daydream, but I really liked what I saw out of the Patriots in the preseason, even though they were borderline terrible. But so of course, they're not real games, right? Like they're trying things, they're testing things, and I liked the things that I saw, the plays that I saw, the style of play that I saw from most of both defense and offense. But as far as Zappy goes, it seemed to not suit him
At
I
all.
don't know if it was like new jitters of like being with a different coach, but I'm tending to think that the mirage of Bailey Zappi might be just as good as Mac Jones, which I never thought. I don't think that Mac Jones is a franchise quarterback anywhere. I don't think he'll end up.
No, not at all.
His career is going to be short. He's going to be passed around the league unless he does something miraculous this year. But I expect him to be somebody's backup somewhere. But, the way that Patriots Nation had been playing Zappy for the past 2 years, they really thought that we had two quarterbacks that were the same caliber. And I think that the preseason really showcased that Zappy was not great under pressure.
Yeah, and I think the new play style, the new offensive play schemes that we're seeing, even the watered down ones, do not play to Zappy's skill set at all. At all. He's forced to do everything that he's essentially not good at.
Well, you know what?
And it shows.
I think that what we're seeing, and we haven't seen in a while, is like a true NFL offensive scheme. I think that last year was a joke, right? Obviously, we know the hobo couldn't do it. Joe Judge.
He will forever be the hobo now.
Who was in charge last year? I don't know if it was him or if it was Joe Judge, but either of them tried and failed in their own right, and then came back here and failed. I would consider last year a failure. It was some kind of miracle that they had it was like a 10-8 record or something, right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't even know how they ended up there, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't either. But
I think
what we're seeing is like a true NFL caliber like team, right? Like they're putting them out with these, and I think that we're seeing that Zappy he's not that level. And if he's not that level now, he probably never will be.
I agree.
But I thought that Malik Cunningham was impressive. So I am shocked that he got cut.
So you know what I kind of thought they were going to do, and I really thought they were going to do this, was I thought they would package up Zappy and Cunningham and send them out for like a real swinging player somewhere, like a really good backup or maybe a really, really good like third running back or another really good wide receiver, and they didn't do that. And I was like, man, why are we holding on to both these guys? One of them's going to go, but neither one of them by themselves really carries the weight of even like a 5th or a 6th round pick. I mean, let's be serious, right?
I think what happened was Zappy, unfortunately, showcased himself in the preseason as not a tradable asset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what team would want him? He didn't look good.
None.
I wouldn't want him. I mean, aside like maybe, I don't know. I mean, like really, where needs that much depth?
Right. Right. And that's why I figured you would package up, like you would have to package both them together.
You should have packaged him up sooner when he
right.
Good.
Right. Yes.
But it's too late
much
now.
Sooner.
Cunningham, on the other hand, I don't know. Like, you know how Bill is. He might be cutting people to throw him on the practice squad.
And he could. It wouldn't shock me if he brought one of those guys back to the practice squad.
But if they're cut, they could go without, I mean, like.
So now, so now I'm kind of like, all right, well, what are you gonna do, Bill? Your move.
You're gonna roll the dice, assuming like if Malik Cunningham gets the right word from the right team as cut, he might not come back.
Where's Brian Hoyer? Where's Brian Hoyer? This is the move. You cut everybody behind your quarterback. You bring Hoyer in for a song.
Well,
where's Brian Hoyer?
You know exactly where Brian Hoyer is, don't you?
Yeah, he moved. He's on another team right now.
Yeah, what team? He's not coming back.
He's on
the Raiders.
Where is he? The
He's
Raiders?
on the Raiders.
So
Josh McDaniels. He's
right.
there in the Las Vegas Patriots.
Vegas Patriots. I love it.
Yeah, he's not coming back. Although I'll admit I haven't been monitoring the other teams as aggressively as I've been monitoring the Patriots today.
Yeah.
I assume that Josh McDaniels did not cut him because they have this relationship from when he was a quarterback.
I would imagine he's not going to get
he's
cut.
with Jimmy, and Jimmy was in the same quarterback room.
Yeah, there's no way he's getting cut.
Yeah, but I don't know what Bill's plan is because I'm going to check right now, but I can't imagine there's anybody else on the depth chart. And as far as like quarterbacks that are out there, like I'm assuming Bill's plan is to bring back one of them on the practice squad.
Yes,
if I was him,
I could only imagine, right?
Well, you have to have a second one.
Right, you got to have somebody playing quarterback on your practice squad.
What if somebody gets hurt in a game or something?
I would go out to say though at this point, he may be apt to bring Cunningham back. Not only because I think he showed a little more promise in the preseason here as an NFL backup quarterback, but don't forget he is multiverse. He can play multiple roles. They were using him as wide receiver, and he kind of did okay. They used him as quarterback. He kind of did okay. So he's got a lot larger skill set. And if you know Bill, you know he loves those like odd guys that can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that in the backup role for that reason.
My concern, knowing Bill Belichick, is that perhaps this whole time we did the Cam Newton experiment, right? We did the Cam Newton experiment a couple of years ago. It did not work.
Yeah.
Being a quarterback that does a lot of scrambling, he's always had quarterbacks that could air it out. And, we've dealt with the slowest man on earth, Tom Brady.
Yes, we did.
Right. I don't know if Malik Cunningham is his style.
Okay.
That's what I worry about. I worry that he would say, okay, I built this scheme for Mac Jones in his style, and he can run a little bit if he needed to. Even though I saw Bailey Zappi suck, and so did the whole world, would he bring back somebody like a Zappi where he'd say, okay, but his skill set fits into what we've been working on versus Malik Cunningham looked like a little baby Lamar Jackson. He was very mobile. He was scrambling all over the place. That he was making plays with his legs. That doesn't seem like a Bill Belichick quarterback to me.
Oh no, I would say it is 100%. He is not a Bill Belichick quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. But
And
for
Bill's
those,
he's never tried to write a scheme for
nope,
a quarterback like
nope.
that.
You know what they'll do with him? They'll do the same thing with him that they do every now and then to see if they can sneak one by the goalie, and they'll come up with some kind of like fancy gadget play that they want to run that literally is designed for him to succeed. It's literally the only play he will probably ever run. And that's what they use those guys for.
You're not wrong if they're going to keep him for that. But what blows my mind is that we trade Nick Folk today, but we don't trade. We're going to drop Malik Cunningham, like I said, unless he made some kind of sweet deal. Like I promise, I will sign you to the practice squad right back because I'm not sure.
Yeah. So that kind of like blew my mind today because I'm kind of like, hold up. Now, I think I understand why they cut him, because this new guy, what's it, Beringer, I think is his last name. Not only is he vastly younger than Nick Folk, and Nick Folk obviously doesn't have much time left in the league, I think because he is younger, he has a stronger leg and can kick farther. I don't know, however, if he's as accurate. Nick Folk was like, what, 32 or 33 of 37 field goals last year. He didn't miss more than like 5. And I don't know if you'll get that out of this new kid.
Well, on a positive for Nick Folk and, wherever he ends up, now he's a Titan. I believe he's a year younger than I am.
Is he really?
I want to say he's 35. And that the kickers in the NFL have a much longer shelf life. So
yes, yeah, they do.
I don't think they're all going to be Adam Vinatieri, but I think that the reliability of Nick Folk and the way that he was. I mean, he looked just the same. There was nothing. I didn't see any drop off from him. I mean, there's a chance that he could have been our kicker for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like
I was really, honestly, I was very surprised that he that he got cut. I can't even fathom. In my brain, I can't wrap it around where I'm like, what is going on here? What are we doing?
Yeah, and I'm not so worried about that. Obviously, they like that kid. Whatever you said his name was.
It's like Beringer or something like that. Yeah. He's new. He's brand new.
Yeah, he looked all right. They kind of. I'm not so worried about that. You know what I mean? Like that's a position that I'm less concerned with.
Little less concerned.
But there have been things that they've done in the past few days, today especially, that bring me other concerns. We haven't spoken since Zeke has entered the team. Right, and they cut. Who did they cut? Harris.
They cut Harris. Yep. They cut Harris. They cut Strong.
Oh, Strong. They traded Strong.
Who I liked. I like Strong. I thought he showed really good promise, but I don't know. In the mind that is Bill Belichick,
it boggles my mind that you're going to trade him, right? Like what? His thought process. You can never judge what Bill's going to do. There's no.
I feel like it's always a guessing game of, hey, what's Bill going to do today? That's like crazy and out there that may or may not work.
And I'm on the hill like, hey, Bill, I see you're doing some stuff, but like, have you seen your offensive tackles? Like, maybe we should work on that instead. I'm not so sure on that. You can't. His brain just doesn't make any sense.
So now part of that, right? So you bring up a good point. Is that so? Now we've got all these pieces, right? You got Zeke, who came in, who we obviously know is going to be running behind Stevenson because Ramondre will 100 be your number one. So they'll probably put Zeke on the goal line or in third down situations to ram the ball. Problem is Zeke is old and busted, right? Bill likes his old busted toys that have like a year or two left in them, and then he goes and picks them up. I don't know if Zeke is going to be able to believe, and this is, I honestly believe, I don't know if Zeke, at his age and given how banged up he has been and hurt, especially the last couple of years, I don't know if he can carry a full season of pounding that ball every third down. I'm not talking every down. I don't know if he could do every third down.
I think you're going to get at least another decent year out of Zeke.
I hope so, which means...
Yeah, it's not a huge concern. But what I do worry is that, you know how Bill is with people that get in the doghouse?
Yeah.
I'm worried that he intends to have Zeke in the role of Ramondre messes up, he gets benched.
Yeah.
And Zeke, you're right, Zeke is not the Zeke that he was at 22 years old.
Man, you give that dude to me like 8 years ago, all day long.
Right.
Let him run.
I will be happy if something happens to Ramondre
right.
and he gets injured. I will be glad that Zeke is on the team.
Right.
I'm glad that he's not J.J. Taylor. I'm glad that he's not Kevin Harris. Like, I'm glad.
Yeah. Yep.
He's gonna be a punch it through kind of like Hail Mary play. Ramondre is gonna be the every down back until he messes.
So now that brings up the point of the offensive line, right? So in the one outing, really, and it was really only one outing that we saw Mac Jones play, he didn't look great. He kind of looked like he did last year. He wasn't impressive, but that offensive line didn't look any better either. They looked like pure garbage yet again. So if you don't have an offensive line, none of this matters. It doesn't matter who you bring in, who your wideouts are, who your running backs are, your fullback. It don't matter. Tight ends, you can bring them all in. You have zero line. I think what you're going to see them do is this is going to be a very heavy run and tight end game plan this year because, number one, I still don't have confidence, and I think a lot of people don't, in Mac's ability yet. He had one really good year. He's had one trash year. Like, dude's going to prove himself, right? So you're going to see the tight ends, right? Because you got Gesicki and you got Hunter. So they both got a good set of hands, strong guys. They can do some blocking if they need to in the run game. You're going to see them set up to throw to them a lot, which should in turn open up the field so you can get the ball to like Juju down the field and actually use him for what you're paying him for. Supposedly, that's the theory.
I think you'll see both of those tight ends as they're better catch passing tight ends than they are blockers. I mean, obviously we were using Jonnu as a blocker.
Right.
Maybe because I don't know what happened to Jonnu. I feel like he got like butterfingers in the past couple of years after we paid him.
He couldn't catch a ball. He just couldn't catch the ball.
But we were using him in pretty much as a blocker.
Yes.
But Hunter Henry, absolutely not. He was used as a traditional pass catching for us last year. And Mike Gesicki definitely is. When you look at Mike Gesicki's profile, he's tall, he's skinny, he's not really that medium build, big guy. Yeah. He's like a wide receiver. So
he is.
I think they're definitely going to use them as that. And obviously I think that's maybe a Bill O'Brien thing. We're going to see more air than we have seen. If you're right, if the O-line can hold off of Mac, because Mac is definitely in a make it or break it year.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I believe it's going to be break it unless we see there's something going on in the next couple of days. Maybe they know of a player that they really like, that they're imagining is going to get cut from somebody else's roster.
Well,
maybe they'll move around.
It's funny you mentioned that, right? So this was part of the game plan tonight too, was in the last 30 or so minutes here to talk about kind of like what's going on around the league, right? Because next week when we come back, we will actually give predictions as to who's going to win the Patriots game and stuff. This week's we're kind of throwing out like what we thought about, the rest of the preseason. And there he is, Coach N. Let's go Bills, right? So a couple of things to note is that there was no trade partner for the Colts and for Jonathan Taylor, right?
Yes.
So I can only imagine that a couple of things that have and will happen. One is that the Colts were asking probably a little bit more than what they should have for him, right? They were like, they wanted pie in the sky because they're
Well,
like,
it's not
that's
that they
Jonathan
didn't have
Taylor.
any offers. They just didn't like the offers.
Right. They didn't like what they were getting, which tells me they were probably asking or looking for maybe a little too much. So now the question becomes is they're going to throw him on the PUP list, right? Which is player unable to perform, right? And with that comes you miss 4 games. So for all you Jonathan Taylor fans out there who maybe got him because you thought he might play somewhere come game 1 in fantasy football, you're all going to be hurting for the first 4 games, which is probably like a third of your season, right? Because you're going to be riding the bench.
Right. Those of you, we drafted in our fantasy league this
Yep.
past weekend, which was a little bit premature. I mean, I like to wait till the last preseason game happens so you see if there's any injuries and whatnot. But our league did not draft Jonathan Taylor until like the 7th round.
because of this possibility, right?
Right.
So,
like, I don't know if it was some kind of premonition, but I bet that's what you're going to see this weekend. This is the
Yep.
big draft weekend.
and
Labor Day
if he
week.
gets traded in those first 4 games, he still can't play. He's riding the bench for 4 games.
I don't think he's going to go anywhere because I don't think that they have the depth to really
Nope.
get rid of him.
No, and nobody's offering anything up. So that's number one. But we were talking about wide receivers. So for those of you who have picked up Jerry Jeudy, he is probably going to miss at least a couple of games. But he is not going on the IR, which is good. So he's not on the short-term IR, which means he's not going to miss short-term IR is 6 games, I think it is. He's right now, tentatively, he's not going on the PUP, so he's not going to miss 4 games. I think with his hamstring injury, he's probably going to miss at least the first game, maybe 2. So if you picked up Sutton, you're probably going to get points out of Sutton just for a couple weeks until he comes back. I think the bigger question with Jerry Jeudy becomes, is he going to be injury-prone again this year? Are we going to see him only play a game or 2, and now it's a hamstring or an ankle, and now he's out for 2 or 3 more games? You know what I mean? It seems
He's
to be
so
his
young.
MO.
I don't think it's going to be, I find there are a few incidents in fantasy where there are injury-prone players, right?
Smart coach.
Definitely, there are some that like their whole career is borderline injury, or they traditionally don't play a whole season. Like I know, I'm a battle cry for Dalvin Cook owner. He always misses like 4 games a season.
Yep.
But Jerry Jeudy, we have not seen him have a real full NFL season.
Nope. So he was one of my questions.
It's very reminiscent of those players that they do. They come in with this huge hype, and Jerry Jeudy was definitely one of them. They come in with this huge hype, and nothing ever really happens. I'm worried that that's what's going to happen. So Cortland Sutton owners, like I would be happy, I'd be ecstatic to be a Cortland Sutton owner because if he's back, I assume that he's hiding
because I'll probably get a good couple of weeks out of him at least here or there.
Or he'll be on the other side, and
right?
He's worth it. The biggest problem with me, right? I stayed clear away from the Broncos. I worry that Russ is cooked instead of letting Russ cook. I worry.
This just in. Wait, hold, stop the presses. 37 minutes ago. The Patriots are releasing Ty Montgomery now, too.
Yeah. I see that right now. I'm looking at a post from a few minutes ago, and it only lists Stevenson and Elliott.
I am telling you, they are going to bring in a couple more people. And here is, and I'll tell you because I saw it. I was scrolling through. I used the Sleeper app. Thank you very much, Lindsay. So I was scrolling through the Sleeper app to see who, kind of what's going on, trades, cuts, right? So a couple of notable, I will not call them every down players, but I'll call them players who are good for a couple of plays a game that don't mind getting banged up, like when your main horses need a rest. One is, and a lot of them are coming from the Giants. They released Cole Beasley, fast and a good set of hands. They've also released Jamison Crowder. Another one, not quick, but runs a good route and a great set of hands. And they are activating Wendell Robinson from the pup. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they brought him up, but they let the others go. But those two releases from the Giants, I am like, you know what? Those are literally, and probably more Beasley than Crowder. Beasley is literally the type of player that Bill likes. There was rumor of Beasley coming here a few years back, if you remember. Don't be shocked if you see him come on over. The Dolphins have released Myles Gaskins. So I am like, Bill is making room to pick up some of these guys that have now been cut in the last day.
You know who I was surprised, and I mean, obviously I'm just speculating, but you know who I was surprised that we didn't get is we had a meeting with Leonard Fournette. He's still he's still a free agent. He's unsigned. I wonder if we really liked him. You know what I mean? He seemed like he was like a right shoe-in fit for the Patriots. Do you think that? Yeah, you're right. A lot of these old dirt. And
Yeah,
I feel like
they're dirt.
Leonard Fournette is borderline old dirt.
What about Kenyon Drake? The Colts let him go. He's another one. He's good, like as your RB3 or 4, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering. I mean, obviously there is the chance that a lot of these guys know the scheme and they're just getting dropped to be put on the practice squad.
Yeah, I would say I agree. Like Gaskins would be good. Drake would be good to pick up if you're looking, because you got to fill out your backfield with one or two more people between the practice squad and the third running back.
Yeah, we definitely need another running back, but I'm not so concerned with the fact that, first of all, we're dropping people that probably aren't going to get picked up.
So you know who I thought was an interesting release, who had, I don't want to call it success, but he's played and shown some promise in games, was the Kansas City Chiefs released, I don't know how, I think you say it, Butchnell. It was like the second or third string quarterback. He's been around the league for like 3 years, and he had some decent games, playing as a backup in Kansas City. They weren't terrible, had a couple good preseasons over the years. I would say, man, if you're going to release him, you got to look at him. I think you need to eyeball Trace. You got to eyeball McCoy. Like, you need a backup quarterback at this point. You got to get a body in here.
You know who I think would be great for us? Matt Ryan.
I would love to see Matt Ryan come up here.
I think a veteran that actually knows what the hell he's talking about to sit there and train Matt, give him one last chance, and be a viable option. Probably, honestly, a better quarterback than Matt. Matt.
He probably is. He really is.
He's a free agent right now. I think that if you look at around the league, I mean, I know you were mentioning wide receivers. I feel like the Patriots themselves are fine.
They're okay.
Depth chart of wide receivers, they're okay. The ones that are being released, like the only one that sounds like it would be a shoe-in for the Patriots would be Cole Beasley, but I'm not sure as a I don't know, coach maybe would be able to call me out on this, but he's definitely
clipboard coach.
Yeah. But Beasley being a Bills Nation kind of guy, I'm not sure that he could ever come here. But we're all right for wide receiver. There is a lot of talent enough that is out there available that I'm not so concerned. I do agree. We are going to add some depth pieces on running, right? We're going to have to add a quarterback. Maybe we're just realizing that the ones that we've picked, they're just the dice didn't roll out this time, and we need something else. But yeah.
And then what was some of the other notable things I saw was Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray is out for 4 weeks or something?
Yeah, because they're going to put him on the PUP. They're going to keep him on it beyond today. So he'll be out for the first 4 games. So if you picked him up and you thought he was going to be your main horse, better go out and get another QB.
I don't think you did. And I was thinking this morning.
Cole is mental. I'd take him.
Yeah, no, he was great. I'd take him too. I don't think he's coming to us.
That's hilarious. I love it.
If you picked up a quarterback, or say you go through your drafts this weekend and you get somebody that you are just not comfortable with, you just wait, because Kyler Murray probably isn't going to get drafted.
Probably not.
You can just hold and wait and pick him up after the first injury. In fact, if you kind of your last pick, you want to grab him, you can throw him on IR and then just grab somebody else. But if you're not comfortable with the quarterback that you grabbed, I heard that they thought that Kyler was almost ready to start the season anyway.
Really?
So, yep. So they thought that possibly he could have been there for week 1. So he must be pretty close.
Wow. I'm surprised they kept him on that list.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, it was an ACL, right? So, like, you don't want to rush it. But if you got to do what you got to do. But I'm just saying, if for fantasy purposes, he's got legs. If he was almost ready to go, they're going to give him another month to cook in there. He might be a great option to save the fact that you drafted a quarterback too late.
Yep, for sure. So let's see here as I roll around. Who do you think? And I don't know how many games you got to see over the last like couple of weeks, but who do you think probably had who do you think had the most surprising to you preseason? Like, what team that you saw surprised you the most? Any of them? It's kind of like practice season, so I know it's kind of tough to tell.
It's hard. It's hard. I definitely pay the most attention to the Patriots during the preseason, just for the sake of, ease of watching it. It's on local TV and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had heard some things about the Eagles looking good. I saw a lot of games from the inside of a bar room. I
know what she's been doing with her free time.
I saw weeks 2 and 3 mostly from that, so saw a few little things here and there. There's some stuff that I've heard that was bad, like that a lot of secondaries that were going against teams that, like, it was like the B list, and they were like balling their first string out there for 3 quarters and still were getting their butts kicked. So
did you get to see the Jets play at all with Aaron Rodgers?
I didn't see Aaron Rodgers. No, I saw Zach Wilson, and that was uneventful. And
I purposefully went back and watched that game just to watch Rodgers play, and he looked okay. I didn't see anything that stood out to me where he looked any different than he looked in Green Bay. But the Jets as a whole, the team itself, looked a lot better. I mean, visibly a lot better in their schemes, in the way they were moving. Now, that could all amount to nothing because I agree with Coach. I like to think the Jets are trash, but you got to call a spade a spade. They looked a little bit sharper in the preseason. Now, if that translates over to the regular season, I guess we'll see. But as far as Rodgers as a standalone player, he did not look to be doing anything out of the ordinary than what he normally would have done.
Yep. I mean, obviously the Jets are one of those. They bought the team to win now, so I'm expecting them to do excellent. I do think that they're trash.
So when we look around the league, who are your top 5 teams on each side of the NFL here in the AFC and the NFC?
Top 5?
Top 5 on each side.
Well, I mean, it's a given that if we go to the AFC, it's a given that we're going to see the.
And any order. It doesn't have to be any order. Just your top 5 teams.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, you're going to see the Chiefs and the Bills definitely. Unfortunately, I'm hopeful for the Jets that they will be up there also, just from the amount of money and the players that they brought in.
Hey, Sam.
Sam, I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Bouncing in here to back up Coach.
Yeah, so I would say Kansas City, the Bills, the Jets, probably the Bengals and the Ravens, if I was going to pick out of the AFC.
The Bengals and yep. Yeah, so I think I would go with all of them. I agree. The only, the one, so there are two teams that I think out of those five, I go like, I think they're going to make it, but I could be wrong. One is the Jets, because they're the Jets.
Right,
but,
that's one that I'm like, is your new set going to work, Salah,
right?
Or do you suck? Like, I'm not sure.
and I also think there's a question mark, believe it or not, with the Bengals.
Why? Are you worried about...
I'm worried about Joe Burrow staying healthy.
I'm not so worried about
with that gnarly calf strain he went down with. Hello, Dallas.
They seem to, the beat reporters in the area seem to not be that worried about it.
Yeah,
So I'm not worried as a lay person that doesn't know any better. If they're not worried, then I guess I'm not worried.
How about on the other side of the ball? Who you got?
I would, obviously the Eagles.
Yes.
I would say the Eagles, and then the Vikings probably.
Ooh, you know what? I hadn't really thought about them.
Yeah, I think the Vikings think that they're in it. Okay, let's be real here. Okay, most of the chat is on my side. Okay?
Yes, yeah, I would say
the NFC is less competitive.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Always has been. So, I would say yes, because they're less competitive. The Vikings are up there. So yeah, the Eagles, the Vikings, probably the Cowboys, I guess. And beyond that, I don't. There's a lot. I would say probably the Seahawks, because I don't believe in the rebuild of the Saints. I don't believe that the 49ers are going to do well with Brock Purdy, and they got rid of Trey Lance, and they got rid of Jimmy. I don't think that they're going to. The Seahawks, I think you're going to see that Geno is definitely saying, I am a legit quarterback. I'm here to stay. This team can be fine. But then I would say probably the Giants. I'd say the Giants are up.
Right, so I had the Seahawks and the Giants in that mix too. I think the Giants got a really good chance at being in the top 10 in all the NFL this year.
Yeah, absolutely. The honorable mentions, I guess, I would say is probably between the Seahawks and the Lions would be my sort of like, I'm not sure if they're team 5 for me.
So what's funny is like the Lions, at least in the preseason, remember how they started last year? And there was, what was it? It was like 8 weeks running. They had averaged 30-something stupid points a game, and then they just absolutely tanked. I kind of saw in the little bit of the game that I watched with them, like a flash of that, and I was like, holy cow. And they've upgraded some of their positions. I'm like, what is going on? And they've upgraded a lot on the defense. There, in the preseason, I watched, like I said, a little bit of the Lions game this past week, and their defense looked much improved over last year, which should make them a little bit better. One of the more notable and surprising people, just in general, speaking of improvements, because this is where my head went now, was Kenny Pickett. Mr. Small Hands, he actually had like a really good, like he had a solid preseason this year. And I'm like, I know he's stuck. He's like, I think he's third on their depth chart over there now. And he's stuck behind Trubisky and Mason Rudolph. But I think over the course of the preseason, he actually showed a lot of promise. He was very accurate on his short passes. He completed like 13 of 15 95 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, right? He had a 24-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Vaughns that got Pittsburgh their win with like 3 seconds remaining on the clock. That is something. He looked markedly improved over last year.
Yeah, but I don't think that to me is a surprise. I mean, like, really, the rookies do need, no matter how great they look. I mean, like, think about like Trevor Lawrence, right? Even more hype coming in,
Ooh.
first overall pick, blah 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 blah.
Coach thinks he's the starter.
Oh, 100% he is. Yeah, he's
I like it.
But what I'm saying is, as a rookie, they really do need a lot of training. They really need to get acclimated to the NFL. It's a completely different style. I don't care what, if they're
And the game moves a lot faster.
Yeah,
a lot faster.
It's different playing with professional level versus some people that can make it and some people that can't. So I think that Kenny Pickett will. This is where you're going to see it, right? You're really going to see it the second year. He is definitely the starter. I mean, they still got a great coaching staff over there. Mike Tomlin is like legendary, right? So I don't see the Steelers. I mean, I don't see them in the top 5, but I don't see them. I don't see them failing. As I see some teams, I have very little hope this year with the first rookie quarterback for the Falcons. I have very little faith in the Buccaneers turning their lives around with Baker Mayfield. I have very little faith in the Panthers this year. The Texans. Like, there are a lot of teams that are hurting and they have not built enough to
at
return.
all. I feel like some of those teams you mentioned, it was almost like they got in some big names so they could draw a crowd into the stadium, but really didn't improve at all in terms of, skilled players where you really could have used them for a couple of years running, and now you've done nothing again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brady 1-year deal. Anthony, that may be the best deal we get this year.
I'm still not mentally convinced that Brady's not going to pull a fast one on us and do something like that.
Well, I don't know if any of you guys follow his Instagram at all, but like, he made this post like a week ago and basically alluded to, it's like, he said something along the lines of, this time of year really gets me feeling it, right? And it was a picture of him, and of course it's like his abdomen, which is like toned and it's tanned, and he's got some shorts, and I think he's like sitting on his $5 million yacht or whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, don't even go there, right? And he kind of put like the crying laughing emoji because he knows he's trolling people by doing that, but I was like, oh, here we go, coming out of retirement.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not convinced, but there are a lot of teams. I see the chat going wild asking.
Coach is, you know what? Coach brings up a good point, and I almost forgot. I wanted to talk a little bit about Green Bay and Jordan Love, and I think Coach is right. Jordan Love looks solid in the preseason.
Yeah, but we see what is he, a 4th year? Like, it's not. We've already known that he's not
3rd or 4th, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Jordan Love. I tried to stay away personally in my fantasy drafts from the Packers. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think. Did I pick up? Who did I pick? Did I pick up?
They also lost a lot of players to the Jets directly.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yep.
I'm not even worried about having like Aaron Jones. I was worried that the Packers are going to turn the ball over and never have possession, which would also make me nervous to have the Packers defense, because I wouldn't want to have them, no matter how great they do, I don't want to see them out on the field all the time.
Right,
so,
right. So another player that really everybody should keep their eye on, and I'll tell you why, is Shamar Bridges down in Baltimore, the wide receiver. So, and here's why. So over the course of the preseason and all the practicing, the Ravens have lost just like their whole receiving core is in like the ICU in like some hospital somewhere. So the latest player was Tylan Wallace. So he went down. He suffered an injury in his first preseason game against Tennessee. He got a sprained knee. Then it was James Proch. He had a great training camp. He's going to be out for several weeks. He has a soft tissue injury. The undrafted rookies of Slade Bolden and Bailey Gaither are also dealing with injuries. They didn't play against the Titans. And then Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay, who's number 1 and 2 on the depth chart, they have missed a bunch of practice already this year because of their injuries.
Did you forget that Odell Beckham is on that team?
Right, so they have Odell, who I think almost needs to prove himself again, but Shamar Bridges who's a rookie, had an absolute incredible preseason. They need to capitalize and see if this dude is the real deal if their receiving core is getting banged up. He caught 4 passes for 62 yards and a touchdown. He had a 38-yard circus catch along the sidelines that just literally was like the crowning jewel of his ability to like catch a ball in the most awkward position. They need to look at this kid as their 3-4 slotted wideout because eventually Bateman and Duvernay will come back as 1-2, and then I think Odell and this kid battle it out for the 3 slot, and whoever doesn't win goes to the 4.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of good stuff about Zay Flowers this year. Rashad Bateman and Duvernay will come back. Don't forget they have Nelson Aguilar from us. And not that he's
Aguilar.
great. Right, but they also use Mark Andrews as a wide receiver.
Dude, Mark Andrews, I am telling you what, that guy got me so many points in fantasy last year. He was literally throwing up numbers like a wide receiver almost every week.
Right, he's a machine. He is a little fragile.
He was incredible, absolutely incredible.
He's a little fragile, but when he was out, Likely is the guy behind him. Likely was fine. So I don't know about your take on that baby wide receiver. I think that Odell's going to demand too much attention. Like I said, all I've heard out of training camp is that Zay Flowers was.
They didn't really see much of Odell in the preseason.
You're not going to. I mean, they're not stupid, right?
And now,
they're not stupid. They're not going to run
they're running Bateman and Duvernay like wild in practice, and these guys are getting hurt. Who really? And those two should be their 1 and 2 wideouts.
Yeah, but I mean, like John Harbaugh isn't a new coach, right? So he might as well be. He's right up there with any of the veteran coaches. He's going to run the same thing, the thing that's been working. He's going to play those players that he knows. Okay, so you're going to see the same. I think the Ravens are going to be just as good as they were. I'm not sold on Odell being the hero, but
no, not at all.
But I think from what I've heard that we're probably looking at Zay Flowers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Odell. I mean, I saw Odell at the beginning of the summer. I saw a lot of videos of him catching one-handed catches and stuff like that. So like maybe he's the Odell of yesteryear, but I wouldn't worry about them with a couple of injuries at wide receiver.
Did you happen to watch any Tyree Wilson over at the Raiders? He was like the number 7, I think he was 6 or 7 pick this year. He missed like the first 2 preseason games, but I don't know. Managed. He came back on a 7 pass rush snap in like week 3. Did you catch how he looked at all?
No,
me neither. I want to see him play, and he had just a little bite at the apple there in their last game, and I totally missed it. I was interested to see what he did, and missing the first 2 preseason games, I could have swore that they were going to cut him, but obviously I haven't seen that come across any of my news feeds yet, so I guess they're going to hold on to their draft.
Is it the Raiders?
Yeah. Tyree Wilson was drafted by the Raiders.
I don't see him on the depth chart.
Let's see. What are we looking at in the chat here? Jameson Williams. Yep. He's going to be beastly. He's going to have a great year. I was sad. I was hoping that in our draft he would come around to me, and he never did. But quickly, your thoughts on the upcoming first week of the NFL. So, what do you think? What do you think is outside of the Patriots game? What is your game of week number 1 to watch?
Let me take a look right now. I wish you gave me these questions before we got here.
Oh, sorry. I have like all this information like up in front of me, so I'm just like
he's just throwing it.
I can like scroll through stuff like instantly. So for me, the first game out of the chute is Thursday, September 7th, right? We're going to see the Lions and the Chiefs play. That's an 8:20 game on a Thursday night. That's how we're going to open things up. But then,
well, obviously the NFL knows what they're doing because the most interesting game that week is going to be Monday night, the Bills versus the Jets.
Right. So, and as I was looking down, I had a couple of games picked out that I was interested in seeing. Not so much because I thought the game may be great.
Is it also Sunday night, the Cowboys versus the Giants? Because that is me too, and that is the NFL being smart.
Right. So I said I was interested in seeing, and I don't know if this will be a televised game. It'll probably be a local game wherever you are in the country. But the 49ers and Steelers, only because I was interested in seeing the 49ers play more than the game itself, to be honest with you. I don't really care about the 49ers or Steelers game. I am more interested to see how the 49ers actually do, given all the off-season moves they've made. Right, and now Purdy's got the starting job, and there was talk of them looking decent in the preseason, which I didn't get to watch any of them. I mean, I saw the highlights, but it's a highlight reel. You should look good in a highlight reel, right? So I was interested to watch the 49ers, but the game of the week for me outside of the Patriots game was the Bills and the Jets.
Oh, definitely.
I thought that was like the game of the week for me. I am definitely interested in that game. I could see the Cowboys and Giants being a good game too. So,
yeah, I would say that obviously Thursday night is just because of the Chiefs, but and I'm going to watch because I'm going to be excited. But I don't think that game's going to be the one. If I'm looking at Sunday, I would say that the 1:00 slot, the most interesting game to me is probably the Bengals and the Browns, assuming that Joe Burrow's okay. I'd like to see Deshaun Watson.
Exactly. Yep.
The rest of the games, I mean, like nothing of merit that I really want. I mean, obviously, I kind of want to see how Derek Carr does moving to another team. But out of the 1:00 games, I would definitely say the Bengals and the Browns. Out of the 4:00 games, I'm going to be watching the Patriots. But out of those games that are there to watch, I would say probably be interested to see how the Packers do without Aaron Rodgers. I know it's just the Bears, so it'd be like a good warm-up.
Which is a great rivalry for those
right, but
two
are they
teams.
going to fall apart against the Bears or not? That would be something I'd like to see.
Now, I didn't follow the Packers closely in the preseason here. Obviously, there was some big news, shake-up stuff going on with Rodgers leaving and Love takes over. I don't really know if they made a lot of moves on their defense, which then really has me interested to see on the Bears side of the ball how Justin Fields comes out and starts playing this year, like right away.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype that's been surrounding him in the preseason, especially as you know, I'm super into fantasy. So he's been hyped as a top 5 in fantasy, and I've never seen it. So I'll be curious, like if they're seeing something new and different, because he has never piqued my interest. I know he's legs, and that's like a cheat code, different story. But I don't see the Bears becoming some fantastic team.
Nope, I'm just curious in watching Fields play because I think, at least in terms of fantasy, Justin Fields is probably going to be one of your biggest point getters of the year for fantasy because of his legs.
He could be.
He's got to stay on the field. He's got to stay healthy, though.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know. I'm not sold. I wasn't ready to take that gamble myself.
I saw him sitting there, and I was like, man, if he's around after like I round out my roster and I'm looking for a bench guy, I'm gonna take him. But he was already gone by the time
Yeah.
it came back around to us. You know.
Yeah, I waited a while. I don't even know what round I can tell you. I have it with me. I got Trevor Lawrence. Right? I think
I took a lot of like, I wouldn't say big gambles, but I think I took a couple players where I was like, man, these guys are, my team is either going to be feast or famine this year. And I kind of did it on purpose. I was like, you know what? This is who I want. This guy, if he does well, we're like good to go, you know? But if he doesn't do well, I'm in trouble, man.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble.
Trevor Lawrence. I took Trevor Lawrence in the 5th round, but I took Geno Smith in the 12th. And last year he was like top 4 or something like that.
Right.
So if he's not a fluke, like maybe he might even be my starting quarterback.
Yeah, I got
I
Purdy.
wasn't taking Fields. I don't know when Fields went.
I wanted Geno Smith, but he wasn't available. And by the time it came down to it, I ended up with Purdy as my backup QB. But I do have Justin Herbert as my main QB. He's, for all intents and purposes, he should have really good numbers. They may not win a ton of games, but his numbers ought to be lights out this year.
Justin Fields went in our draft in the 3rd round.
Wow, really?
And that's definitely, first of all, too rich for my blood, period. But
that's incredible.
Yeah,
Holy
he was taken above Justin Herbert, which like Justin Herbert was like my number 3 this year. I would have taken him.
Right.
So that just goes to show you like all the industry people that you listen to, they have a specific opinion, and then you go into your family drafts, your friends drafts, and people definitely have bias that they go off of.
Absolutely.
That I think are wild. I mean, obviously, who was the first quarterback that came off the board at our draft? Yes. Do you remember?
Oh, you're asking me? No,
because it should have been Patrick Mahomes, but it was Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
And the only thing that may save me this week, because I should have lost miserably, is the person I'm playing, Greg, has Jonathan Taylor. And he had him slotted, but now that he's on the pup, he's at a big goose egg. And
obviously, you can't count that yet. But.
Right? I'm like, oh, man. Anyways, all right. But, so that wraps up our in-between, I don't even know what you call this week. We're calling it the preseason wrap-up, but this has been the preseason Patriots / NFL wrap-up. You should look for us next week on Tuesday night. We are going to be doing our preview for NFL Week 1 action. So we will start with the Patriots. We're going to give a rundown real quick for the first 20 to 30 minutes like we always do. And then on the back end, we will run through not only our NFL picks, but we're going to run through some gambling numbers that, for those of you who like to do that, you should probably look at. And then, of course, we will go through some fantasy predictions that we think we have. So, hey, Surf Bum, what's happening? But for right now, from Lindsay and myself, thank you all for joining me here. Make sure you hit that like button. Go and check my Disney content from last week. We had an awesome week streaming down Disney World. It was hot, but it was a lot of fun. And now we are rolling into our Patriot and NFL season with fantasy football along to boot. So for right now, from me to you, say goodbye, Lindsay. Say goodbye, Sean. We will see you all here next week. Look for a stream coming this weekend on the holiday weekend from the Tiki Bar, as we will be having some tin canness going on. And maybe if we're lucky, I'll be able to rope the co-host into coming over and hitting that kegerator with all those taps out in the back. Just saying, that may happen. But for right now, we shall see you all very, very soon. Have a great night, everybody. So long.